Hey guys, so I'm starting my new playlist here of solving chess tempo puzzles, just doing tactics problems, and having my comments as I'm going about the problems. Hoping to use this to identify flaws in my thought process and just see what types of positions I'm more and less efficient at solving. Haven't played any chess yet today, so coming in fresh, gonna give it a start now here. So here's our first position. We've got black to move. Got a weird position here. First, I'm going to do a little material evaluation. It looks like both sides have the bishop pair, a knight, queen and two rooks. And then the pawn count is at 6 for black and 5 for white. And then it also looks like I've got to figure out something to do with my queen right now, currently under attack. So yeah, what are the other things going on in this position? His queen is attacking both my queen and my knight, so I can't necessarily just run back to e6 with the queen. Got to think about that knight's future. There's the pin with my rook on c8 opposite the king. So combining those things together, I'm thinking about having my first move be bringing the knight to b3, checking. The pawn can't take back because of that pin with the rook I just mentioned, and if the queen takes, then my queen will just recapture, and it'll be immune for the same reason as the knight. So after the knight check, it looks like the queen can't take, or I'll just go up a ton of material. And if the king tries to move out of check, my knight will be covering d2, so he'll have to go to d1, which would make my queen able to take on b1 with check. And that would force his king either to e2, or his dark square bishop will have to block on c1. And then at that point, what would my follow-up be? If he would block with the bishop, then I will have my queen and my knight, so I'd be able to just take a second minor piece. So I don't think he'd want to block with that bishop necessarily. So it looks like he'd most likely... Okay, so just back to the beginning, just to make sure I know what I'm talking about. Black moves the knight to b3, check. The king is basically forced to step to d1. Queen takes b1, check. The king's basically forced to step to e2. And then my queen will be under attack. My queen will be under attack by his rooks. And my knight will also be under attack. So how can I go about continuing on for a win and not just giving the material back? So let's think here. Knight b3, king d1, queen takes b1, king e2. So now I'm thinking about moves like rook takes c2. Checking again. His bishop would be able to take it, but then my queen would be able to recapture with check. And then at that point, I would have given up a rook, but I would have two minor pieces and a pawn for it. And I'm already up a pawn. So since that would come with check, he would have to block or move again, and then I'd be able to retreat my knight or bring that into the attack. So I think that's as far as I'm going to calculate on this one. put about 4.5 minutes into it. I'm feeling pretty good about that continuation, so I'm just going to give that a shot. Okay, so he stepped to the side, like we said, otherwise he would have given up the queen. Now I was going to take the knight. And then here I thought I could at least play rook takes on c2 with check. And if the bishop takes, my queen will take, it will check, and my knight will also be defended. So before I play rook takes c2, I'm just going to see if there's any other options that seem good, but I guess with both of these pieces under attack, I gotta do something pretty strong. Another option would be to try and move this knight with check again before I do anything about the queen, but I don't see a good place to do that. The bishop would just take, and I don't think that bishop is guarding any critically important squares at the moment that I want to remove it as a defender for. So any other things going on here that I want to consider before finishing this one up? This bishop and queen here, I don't think any pawn pushes are worth it. The queen would just come take. So yeah, I think I'm going to capture here. And yeah, so apparently Chess Tempo thinks this is a pretty easy problem, 1206. It was definitely pretty simple to spot the knight coming out here right away, but what took me a little while is just to make sure that I wasn't getting my queen too deep in enemy territory without anywhere to retreat. But I've found a way to simplify and go up material and keep all my pieces defended. So yeah, so that one is good. Moving me up here. Hopefully I'll get a few problems in here before I start getting one wrong. Hopefully I can zoom up pretty close to 2000 here. Not all in this video, of course. Let's try one more here. I'll go next problem. Okay, so this one is actually white to move. I'm going to do a quick material count again. So both sides got the pair of rooks. Both sides have a queen, and black has 2 bishops to the lone knight. But white is up 2 pawns on the queen side and 3-2 majority on the king side. So 3 pawns for a bishop. So yeah, we're even material but imbalanced. And yeah, there's all sorts of piece tension here. So this one should be fun. So first, what is my opponent threatening? So right now he's got this battery with the queen and the rook pointed right at my king. So that's a little bit scary. He's also got this rook attacking the knight. I currently have 2 pieces. Defending the knight, but he could move this bishop somewhere like e7 and add 2 attackers with 1 move. So got to be a little conscious of that. He's also got this light square bishop that could be dangerous along this diagonal, since I've got these weak light squares that his queen might be able to access. On the other hand, I have the only knight on the board, which is a nice tricky little piece. He can jump into f7 with check, and the only piece that's currently defending this square, which would fork the rook and the king, the only piece that's currently defending that is the queen. So one possibility to solve this problem would be to get this queen to nudge somewhere where it no longer defends, and I'd be able to hop in and fork. Other sorts of things, I guess, yeah, he's sort of got He's got this pawn here that's a little loose, only defended by the queen. He's got this bishop here that's only defended by the queen. He's got this bishop that's not defended at all. So I'm thinking that I might need to find a way to double attack these loose pieces here with my queen, potentially using those threats to make him defend awkwardly, and then I can maybe end up with this fork on f7, something like that. So how do I actually make it happen? How do I actually get that to work? Okay, are there other places besides f7 that my knight could want to go? Don't want to get too big of tunnel vision on one simple fork square that I forget to realize something like, the knight could come into f5 instead and look to team up with the queen on h6, or I don't know. So I'm just gonna look and see if there's any other compelling places for it to go. One other possibility would be bringing the knight back to e4 to double attack this bishop with the queen. That would expose these rooks, which they can get traded off. Okay, Firefox. Yeah. Okay, so before Firefox wanted to tell me something, what was I thinking about? Knight coming into e4, double attacking, clearing open the d file. Is that getting me anything? Probably not. Probably not. So, other ideas, queen takes h6, queen recaptures, knight takes f7, forking. But I think at the end of that, I would only be getting 2 pawns for my knight, and he'd be left with his bishop pair to just rake up these pawns. I don't think that's right. What about queen takes h6, knight takes check? Do I have any sort of thing? No, I don't really. I was thinking about doing that same sort of idea, but not taking the queen right away and trying to play like rook takes rook check and then get it, but I don't think anything like that works. So what else here? The problem is that, yeah, I don't have that many pieces involved in the fight. My rooks aren't doing a whole lot. So I gotta figure out a way to really get everything I can out of the queen and the knight. Let's see here. Yeah, there's not many squares for my queen to go to sideways, with those bishops cutting right across the middle. Other options are taking right away on f7, drawing the queen back, and then having this bishop pinned to it. But that just does not work. He would also have tactics of playing the bishop here with check, and actually my queen's defended, so that's not a real threat. But yeah, I don't think there's enough there. Okay, so I kind of got to step back for a second here. I've already put 7 minutes into it. I think I've identified a lot of the things going on. Now I got to piece them together in the right order. I've probably looked at it already and just ruled it out for whatever reason. So Try and take a quick step back. Are there any other... Yeah, so I noticed that his light square bishop is loose. But I just don't quite see any way to get at it. That's the problem. It'd be sort of cool if I could teleport my queen to c7, and then I'd be attacking a lot of things. But yeah, the knight where it sits right now is kind of boxing in my queen. Other moves I haven't thought of. b5. Does that push his bishop anywhere awkward? Probably not. At the very least, he'd be able to bring his bishop all the way back to e8 and make me never be able to take that pawn. Another thing to think about, I don't know if this is considered cheating or not, but sometimes you can get a hint at these problems by looking at the last move played by the opponent, and sometimes that leaves, you can notice that leaves behind some big weakness. In this position, he just brought his rook away from the A file to the middle, so that seems pretty principled. It's not like he left the defense of his king with it and now I can attack the king or something. The only thing is that if I would be able to, the only thing that makes it more vulnerable is that it's now on that square that would get forked if I can safely land a knight on f7. So I don't think looking at the last move gave me any new insight necessarily. Other ideas here. b5, like I said, and if the bishop would go off of the long diagonal, then I could think about bringing a rook to d5. I don't know if that's going to help me switch that across to f5 maybe, or maybe h5. Doesn't quite seem direct enough, honestly, though. Yeah, this is starting to get annoying. So I just gotta find one stupid thing to put these ideas together. So both bishops are a bit loose. I've got threats on f7. What can I do to drive this queen away from the defense of these? Do I have any exchange sacrifices? No, I'm thinking about bringing the rook to d5 right away, but he just takes, and I've achieved nothing. Backwards achievement. Okay, so finally got some new insight here. So going back to the idea with the queen being overworked, so the queen is defending not just this pawn and this bishop, but it's also the only defender of this pawn. So now I'm realizing that I think the solution is going to be knight takes f7 check. He either gives up the fork, or he takes it. Either gives it the fork and I get this rook, or he takes it with the queen. If he takes with the queen, now his queen no longer defends h6, so my queen comes in with check there. Only move to avoid mate is to slide the queen back to h7. Then I get to take his bishop with check. And after he blocks with either the queen or the rook, then I get to take the other bishop. So sacking a knight for a pawn, but then I get my own pawn and two bishops back. At the end of that, these rooks will be staring at each other, but they're defending, so he can't win any rook back. So I think the idea is a lot like I thought early on, combining the queen here, attacking lots of things, loose things. This knight taking f7, his queen being overworked, and these loose pieces are going to get mopped up. So I'm going to play that. He checked, and okay, so he didn't go in for the variation where he loses the bishops. He's just going to give up an exchange, it looks like. Another variation I guess I should look at before I just go and eat this rook would be queen c7. Something I mentioned before that I said if I could get my queen there, it would do more stuff, but the knight's in the way. So now the knight's out of the way, I could put it there, defend the knight, and attack some other things. But is that getting too crazy, or should I just take the exchange while I can? This is the question. So if I go there, I'd have potential discovered attacks. I'd have an attack on this bishop. I'd have another piece attacking this rook. I'd have 1, 2, 3 pieces attacking this rook, whereas he only had 1, 2 defenders. So in one sense, it looks like there's a lot to be glad about, but on the other hand, he could play his rook to g7. So that would be pinning the knight to my queen. In that case, likely best to play rook takes rook. Yeah, this is pretty interesting. So I guess at this point, before I get too far ahead of myself, since there's a pretty good chance that the whole idea is I just take the frickin' rook, I'm going to try and see if there's any reason why that's not a winning position, because if that's winning enough, then I'm wasting my time by calculating other things. So, yeah, for example, if I play the queen here, and he could even, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get back to that. So, knight takes. If the bishop takes, then whatever. I'm up in exchange. He has no mating attack that I can tell. If rook takes, then I can exchange even more and potentially double attack these bishops. So yeah, so I think I'm just gonna do this. If this is wrong, okay, thankfully it wasn't. Might be interesting to look at why the queen into c7. Maybe it's still a good move. It's clearly not the number one move in this problem, but in a game, that would be something that I would definitely be calculating, looking at whether that's totally crushing. That looks like the kind of move that could either put the opponent away or give back any advantage that I just calculated. So, but yeah, as far as this one goes, this one was fairly straightforward, even though it took me a while to see. He plays the rook over. Like I said, the weakness of the last move is that it's now in a fork square, noticing that the knight can take on f7, forking these, and that if the queen would recapture it, it would leave too many other pieces hanging with check. So, yeah, so it took me a little longer than I'd like, but this is the first set of tactics I've done in a week or so, and a little rusty, but figured it out at the end. So yeah, thanks for watching. This was the first installment of this Chess Tempo puzzle series. I may eventually start doing some of the endgame puzzles on here too. Since right now I currently have only been playing live games, and now these puzzles. So I might start doing the endgame ones as well. And And yeah, so you might see those in the future. Thanks.